and today we have two exciting new full-frame cameras to share with you. The versatile Z6 II, including increased processing power, new autofocus modes, greater buffer capacity, faster frame rates and stills, 4K 60p in video, dual card slots, and the ability to attach a vertical battery.
So here we are in the castle. It is definitely not a green screen. A strange man in the basement grinding a piece of steel. We should probably go. Feels a little bit more like home here, doesn't it? In my hands, the Nikon Z6 II, which of all of the camera rumors that I've been hearing over the past couple of years, this has been the one that I have been the most excited for. I have been a user of the original Z6 since the absolute first day it was released, and I've witnessed what that camera was in the beginning and how far it's come in a very short period of time. One thing I've noticed specifically with kind of the public opinion with the Z6 original was that a lot of people want to hate on it. And I don't really understand why. If you've used it and you've used it extensively and you've learned how to actually use the camera, there's a pretty good chance that you 100% love it and you understand that you could just never convince anybody why you love this camera so much, so you don't even try. And it seems like the other camp just wants to hate on the Nikon Z series, and I suspect that this is from the early reviews that came out, that there were problems in the very beginning. Over the life cycle of the firmware updates, it really has been solved, and by the time that the Z6 was on firmware 3.0, it was a really, really phenomenal camera. That said, it was missing one key piece for me, specifically as a wedding photographer. I guess maybe to give a little background of myself, I wear a number of different hats in the photography space. One, I'm a wedding photographer. I photograph 60+ weddings every single year on a normal year. This year is not normal, if you didn't notice. I'm also a travel and landscape photographer. And then I also do video production, both for commercial clients as well as myself here on YouTube, and sometimes even for some slightly larger screens than the one you're probably watching this on. So my opinion today comes from that of a professional, not necessarily working in a single silo of photography, but working in a number of different sectors of photography and video production. For a long time, the original Z6 ticked every single box that I wanted from a camera, from both a photography camera as well as a video camera. And there was just one key piece that was lacking for me as a wedding photographer. That's a very key part of my business. And that problem has been solved in the Z6 II, where they've just included a second card slot. So now I have backup redundancy for my images when I'm out there. I'm taking photos, I can be shooting to both cards simultaneously, and it really relaxes my anxiety when I'm out there at a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Going back from that, like on a commercial shoot, I would just love to have that backup redundancy, that things can happen to cards. XQD cards, I understand, very, very slim chance of anything ever going wrong with them, but I really do, just for my own peace of mind, want to have that constant ongoing backup within my camera. Another place that Nikon listened to their customer base, and I feel like this entire camera is a testament to Nikon listening to what the public would like from their camera and just making all of those things come true and putting it to market. So I think that's really, really cool. The other piece for a lot of people, everybody wanted the battery grip. It's a very ergonomic design. I'm gonna say it's probably ergonomically the best camera out there in the mirrorless space, but it did lack a battery grip. Unfortunately, that has been solved. The blackout, the in between frames, you're now gonna see a little bit less of that. In my testing, it just feels really nice to use overall. And then one other thing to touch on, because I know a lot of the viewers of this channel, if you're in the wedding photography space, you probably also do wedding video. As far as cameras go, this is the best hybrid camera to do both photography and video coverage because of how easy it is to flip between modes, that there is no delay, that you can take as many raw images as you want, and the buffer's actually been even more improved in the 2 than it was in the original, and I had absolutely no issues with the original. So knowing that I have more buffer basically means that I can take 20, 30, 50 raw photos, switch to video mode, and instantly be recording. You will notice on a lot of other cameras, if you try to do that very quickly, that all of the files have to write to the card before it will allow you to record, which if you're in a fast-paced wedding environment, there's a couple walking down the aisle towards you, and you have to be capturing those photos and also videos at the same time with the same camera, or maybe two cameras. You can There's creative ways to shoot both exactly at the same time, but to be able to switch very, very quickly and to have really no delay in between that, which is why this camera is now my recommendation for anyone getting into the wedding photography space, knowing that someday they might be interested in doing some video work as well. But now, the reason you came to this video, this is really dumb. The Nikon Z6 II autofocus test. One thing that you'll notice with Nikon is when they release marketing material, they will always underpromise and they'll be like, yeah, we've improved the autofocus. And that's all they'll say. Yeah, there's 2 processors in this camera. And they won't really allude to what that actually means in usage, because maybe it's just like something that you can't really put into actual numbers. So for the rest of this video, we're only going to talk about autofocus because I think in usage that the Z6 original was fantastic. Ergonomically, it was great. Everything worked well. The main thing that needed updating was the autofocus. We're gonna talk all about that over the next few minutes. So maybe the words need an autofocus update might be a little bit too harsh. To be honest, the autofocus in the original Z6 is pretty great when used correctly, which is one of the things that's mostly misunderstood with this camera and why it gets a little bit of a bad reputation online. We are going to be going through the different autofocus modes in the new Nikon Z6 II over the next few minutes, from regular face and eye detect like this to the new wide area face and eye, which means only faces and eyes within this red box can be detected, and you can move this box all around the screen, to another one that I use often, which is the object/subject tracking. So first up, the autofocus across the entire board is better in this camera. And if you're seeing that the face or eye is lit up yellow, you are confident that the eye or face is in focus. Now you might notice that the yellow box and eye detect moves around a little bit. In my testing, it is still focusing on the eye or face that it's locked onto. I'm not an engineer, but I'm guessing the camera is just giving priority to the camera actually focusing, and then following that task with the overlay to give you confirmation of what it's doing. I also tend to walk around a lot while taking images like this, which puts even more stress on the autofocus system. The Z6 II really does keep up with my hard steps and movements that maybe I shouldn't be making, even at longer focal lengths, which is again kind of a testament to how good this autofocus system has become. Here is a video clip of that same scene, walking backwards and just recording video handheld, and just out of the box regular autofocus settings. You can speed the autofocus up if you want, and or make it more sensitive if you wish. And even when it's not displaying the eye autofocus, like right there, it is actually still tracking the eye, even though it's not giving you that confirmation on the screen. Now, I'm just gonna let the video run here for a few more examples of the, what I would call kind of the more general face and eye detection autofocus mode. Now, as a wedding and portrait shooter in complex environments with a number of different people usually in the scene, when there is 1 or 2 people that I want the camera to 100% be focused on, this new wide AF mode is really, really helpful. So basically what's happening here, anything inside that red box is game for the face and eye detect. Anything outside of it will be ignored as far as faces and eyes go. So in the situation of a bride or groom coming down the aisle and trying to focus specifically on them when people are off in the peripheral sides and smiling, maybe facing the camera, that the camera is 100% going to know what your subject is, and it's easy enough to drag that box around with your thumb on the joystick, so you know that whatever you want to focus on, the camera is going to focus on. Now into the last mode, which I'm going to talk about today, which is the object tracking or subject tracking. A lot of Z6 users will recommend that you set this to the F1 button, which is the button that's right underneath your index finger. So you can basically trigger this really quickly, put it over top of whatever subject you want to track, and then either hold the AF on button or half press the shutter button, and it'll just stick to whatever that subject or object is. And it worked very well on the original Z6, and it works even better on the Z6 II. It feels more sticky. It feels like you have confirmation that the subject is for sure being tracked, and wherever you put that, it's very rare that it loses it, unless you put it into a situation that becomes kind of impossible for it to interpret. I'll also mention another small issue that I think was fixed at least in my testing so far, that Traditionally, with an original Z6, you put the autofocus in a situation like this, it kind of wants to focus on whatever the closest subject is to the camera, and it seems like it interprets a scene a lot better overall now. Autofocus in low light also gets a boost. As you can see, it's kind of the end-ish of blue hour right now and just doing really phenomenally well. Medium high ISO at 1.8 and everything is in focus. I guess one other thing that I should mention is that everything that you're seeing, I have checked and everything is in fact in focus. I'm just not going to show you all the images because this video is a little bit more about showing you kind of the autofocus system and how it operates in a real life situation. There are a number of videos to come with the Nikon Z6 II with the pre-production unit, and then also when I get my hands on a production unit, I'll be making a lot of different content. I really truly do believe, and I believe this with the original Z6, that it is the best all-around camera out there. And now with the addition of 2 card slots as well as just better autofocus across the board, it really is the best camera out there for all-around photo and video creation, whether you are a wedding photographer or a landscape photographer. This camera paired with the Nikon Z glass ecosystem really does make for an amazing tool and also just an amazing experience overall. And there it is, the Nikon Z6 II. Feels a bit weird. So Canada borrowed the word Z from England, but we didn't really take the word Nikon. So it feels weird to say the Nikon Z. You can debate in the comments which one is correct. That is my first look, my first review of this camera. I will be doing a full in-depth review once a production model of this camera is available, which means I'm going to be basically starting from zero again and giving a full review of the camera as a standalone unit, not in terms of kind of the Z6 like we've done here. There's also a number of little Easter eggs in here as well. One of the cool things is that you can now map a button to just make all of the information on your screen disappear. So if you're shooting in video, you can just hit one button, whatever button you set it to, and it'll make all the overlays go away and you can just see the image, and then you can hit that to just bring it all back. And there are definitely a number of other things that I would love to talk about when it comes to this camera. We will get to them in a future video. So like this video, if you enjoyed this video, please, it really does help this video get out there in the world. So I personally appreciate it. And subscribe if you want to see more content in the Nikon Z6 II world, because I will be doing a number of things and hopefully all timelines align and we can actually get out there in the world with one of these production units as early as possible and bring you some real life results with this camera. So thanks for watching, really appreciate it, and I hope that you're having a great day wherever you are in the world. I don't know how to end videos, so I just kind of sit here until you turn this off. Thought it was gonna end there, but it didn't. Just, oh look, there's things on the screen now. It's great. You should click this one or this one.